A German chancellor says she's ready to seek a fourth term in next year's elections.
Today I told my party, the CDU, that I was ready to run again to represent the CDU, and I think this goes together, that I was running for a new term as the Chancellor of the German Republic.
Merkel will also seek re-election as chairwoman of the Christian Democratic Union Party at its convention next month. Over the past year, her ruling party has suffered a sobering defeat in 3 regional elections over the government's open-door refugee policy. Merkel has acknowledged that the policy has given the anti-immigrant, anti-EU AfD a massive boost throughout the country. And now we're joined by Mr. Tony Gosling, investigative journalist, joining us out of Bristol. Hello there, Mr. Gosling. Thank you for joining us here on Press TV's Top 5, sir. Mr. Gosling, Chancellor Merkel's caught a lot of heat as of late, and her popularity is on the rocks. Do you feel she still will be able to garner enough support for another term as Chancellor?
Well, look, I'm surprised that Germany cannot produce someone with a little bit more charisma and a little bit more vision for the future. Merkel is one of the EU politicians who've built a career on actually veering towards being very pro-American and quite anti-Russian. Of course, the Germans have supported the sanctions against Russia, which are actually hurting her own people, but benefiting US foreign policy and Israeli foreign policy, some would say, but mostly US foreign policy. And she doesn't seem to think that Germany can stand on its own 2 feet. Also, she's been failing to recognise the shockwaves that Brexit are sending around. She doesn't want to lose that position. She's had 11 years in office, and it really is about time that we had some fresh faces. Otherwise, the Christian Democrats are simply going to lose at the next elections, next year.
And I'm sure you've seen a mainstream corporate media referring to her as now the new leader of the Western world once Obama is gone, and showing that they don't have much faith, a lot of Western leaders, in President-elect Donald Trump, putting Merkel on top of this hierarchy. Do you think that helps or hurts her chances getting that Obama kind of, support? You saw what Obama's remarks that he made right in his last visit with her there in Germany. Do you think that'll help or hurt her chances of getting voted with the Germans?
Well, she shouldn't be listening to President Obama because Obama's on the way out. She should be listening to Trump. Also, she doesn't seem to have noticed we've got Alternative for Germany, this party that's doing extremely well, surging along on the mass migration, the nearly 1 million people that have come into Germany, and of course are undercutting ordinary Germans in their jobs. I'm not saying that these refugees shouldn't be taken, but she has to recognise that many of these people are economic migrants. They've come from Africa to try and make a living in Europe, and that's their right. But what's happened is she hasn't recognised the rise of these parties like Alternative for Germany and Pegida. She needs to actually address some of the problems that are forcing many Germans to go into these far-right parties. By the way, her approval rating has steadily declined ever since she came to office. Bit by bit, she's been losing support amongst Germans. And a poll just today in Bild on Sunday says 55% of Germans say they want her to run again, which is interesting, isn't it? Because many Germans don't want her to win the election. And so probably half of those 55% are hoping she'll run again because they know she'll lose.
Would you say that Germany, just like the U.S. and perhaps like England right now, and other countries like Austria, are divided between the center, or let's say somewhat to the left, and the far right, the rise of the far right?
Well, look, the real forces at work here are the transatlantic alliance forces, and that seems to be breaking down, what with Trump and Brexit. Merkel represents the US-EU Atlantic Alliance. That is effectively big business. These big corporations that are based both in the United States and in Europe, and are also doing a tremendous amount of lobbying at Brussels and Washington. Germany can only thrive, she seems to think, by being nice to America, to being a junior partner. And I think that that her age is gone, and that the German people, as the British and the French would love to do it, and the Italians have said, basically, look, this attitude has got to go. We need leaders in our own individual countries that are prepared to protect the rights of workers and standards, living standards, for their own people, rather to be part of some sort of transatlantic big business club. And let's not forget, finally, that, look, the TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, this massive trade deal that was supposed to bind together the United States of America and the United States of Europe in Brussels, is pretty much dead in the water. So Merkel's history, she just needs to recognize the fact.
Thank you much, Mr. Tony Gosling, once again, investigative journalist, joining us out of Bristol.